A final verse for Your Ears Only. I'm David Alpern.
I'm Melissa Exelberth with a quote from the news. Falling backwards and playing dead, hiding his head, none of that stuff was in the script. That was dog trainer Omar von Mueller on the adorable antics of Oogie, canine co-star in this year's top Academy Award-nominated film The Artist, but not eligible for an Oscar of its own.
Look at you. Look at me. You're so unhappy. I'm all at sea. Stone soul, stone soul. Whoa, come on and surrey down to a stone soul picnic.
Two Faces or Voices of Judy Kuhn. The first is from a 1995 CD that's one of my all-time favorites, Just in Time, the songs of Tin Pan Alley legend Julie Stein. The second is from a 2007 disc, Serious Playground, the songs of Laura Nyro. Of course, her CDs are something of a sideline for Kuhn. She's also a three-time Tony and Drama Desk nominated actress, with leading roles in Les Miserables, Chess, Rags, and She Loves Me, among others, and TV appearances including Law & Order and All My Children. She's also the delicious voice in Disney films Pocahontas and Pocahontas 2.
On March 6th, Judy Kuhn debuts a new cabaret act for elegant Feinsteins at Loew's Regency Hotel in Manhattan, and she's on the line now to talk about it all for Your Ears Only. Welcome to our show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Where did you grow up, go to school, and first get bitten by the showbiz bug?
Well, I grew up in a suburb of Washington, D.C., and I guess the showbiz bug probably bit me when we spent a year living in New York because my father was working at Columbia University for a year when I was about 10 or 11, and they took me to my first Broadway shows. And there was something so transporting about that experience to me that I think that's where I got bit by the bug. There was something in me that had this awareness of I was completely taken into the stories that I was seeing, but there was an awareness that they were actors on the stage, and I think I was mesmerized by this idea that these actors could create a very real imaginary world in front of me.
And what was the first Broadway show you were in?
That I was in?
Yeah.
It was a wonderful show called The Mystery of Edwin Drood that was produced by the Public Theater and began in the park at the Delacorte in the summer, and then transferred to Broadway in the following season. And I was in the ensemble, and I understudied the two leading ladies, who were Betty Buckley and Patty Cohenauer. And I got to go on for both of them when we were on Broadway, and so I guess that was my first Broadway show.
I was in the audience at Les Mis once when the show was delayed what seemed like half an hour because the revolving stage was stuck. I couldn't believe it was that critical if all the performers and musicians were there, but then I saw it was. Did the cast live in fear of more mechanical failures every...
Well, that happened to us, I think, once when we were at the Kennedy Center in Washington, and then again when we were in previews on Broadway. I guess there were some kinks they had to work out. I seem to remember it would only go at 100% speed in one direction, and there was a moment when we were all hanging on to furniture for our dear lives. And then the curtain came down.
What led you to choose a songwriter of the 1940s and 50s, Julie Stein, for your first CD?
Well, actually, I have to admit that wasn't my idea. It was the producer of the record, Bruce Kimmel, came to me and asked me if I would do a solo CD. I'd never done one before, and he suggested Julie Stein, and I thought it was a great idea because he was someone who was had such a broad reach in songwriting. Wrote for Broadway, wrote for Hollywood, wrote all these standards that people know, but and shows that people know, but wasn't. I don't think people knew his name the way, obviously, people know Richard Rodgers' name, or even Harold Arlen, or some of the other great American songwriters. And there's such a range in his music that it was really fun to put it together.
Why the big shift for your second CD to 60s, 70s singer-songwriter Laura Nyro?
Well, I mean, I am a huge fan of that era of songwriting. Joni Mitchell, Tom Waits are among my very favorite songwriters. I guess it was, when was it? I don't know. I guess around 2001. I did a show at the Vineyard Theater, which is a wonderful theater in New York City. That I've worked at a couple times and happen to be on the board of. We did a wonderful show directed by Diane Paulus called Eli's Comin', which was sort of a theatrical exploration of the songs of Laura Nyro, and I knew a lot of her songs, as many people do, because she had so many hits that her songs were covered by everyone in the 60s and 70s, and had a lot of hits with her songs. So I was familiar with the songs, but I actually wasn't that familiar with her. I didn't know that much about her, and I absolutely fell in love with her music. I think maybe when I was a teenager I wasn't quite ready for it, and somehow as an adult I was. And then the people who do the American Songbook series at Lincoln Center came to me and asked me if I would do a tribute to her on the Songbook series, which I thought was great and a very appropriate place for her to be presented.
Stage and Disney screen star Judy Kuhn. Her new show celebrating love and happiness runs from March 6th to 10th at Feinstein's Cabaret in Manhattan's Loew's Regency Hotel.
And this has been For Your Ears Only.